there, were Epi students from UNC going there for the summer?
Yeah, they did. Because Al used to teach before I did. Al Toro,
okay.
Did that 2 or 3 years before I regularly went.
But when you were a student, you didn't do that?
No, I
so
did
it
not.
was sometime after '64?
Yeah, I don't know when the program started in Minnesota.
That was Len Schumann. Len Schumann, was he?
Yeah. I don't know whether it's, when I taught, I don't know whether it's in the early 60s. They give you like the 25th year in the program, so I don't know when did they start, but when I went to teach somewhere in the mid-70s, Al Toro was teaching 2 or 3 years before I did. And we used to ask, many of our students would come. Nancy Breyer, for example, one of the illustrious graduates, was there, and she might have taken my course at the time. Mary, who went to become a doctor, several of our students would come and take courses and take mine as well. But I did that almost every year for years and years and years. And then the program went to Michigan. And
you did it in Michigan
there too. And now when I went to Hopkins 13 years ago, they asked me to teach at Hopkins. Then I decided not to do the Michigan program because that would be a bit of, not necessarily a conflict, nobody really cared, but I thought kind of doesn't make much sense to teach the course at Hopkins summer program and do the same thing at Michigan. In a way, the courses are a bit competitive, and it would not be a great deal for me to do both, but I elected just to do the Hopkins program, which I still do.
Really?
I have been doing it at Hopkins for 10 years, 10 summers. I have been doing the program, and every year I have like 25, 30 students. Last 3 years I invited Leon Borders to do it with me, so we both do it, which makes it kind of interesting.
So one of the things I was curious about was, can you reflect on the department during your year? Because I don't have a whole lot of people who can tell me what it was like in the 60s. And John Castle, specifically.
Yeah.
Any memories?
He was you know, even when I met him early in 1960, and even you and others in your cohort met with him later, you're the same kind of person. He's inspiring, very energetic, and very helpful and sympathetic. And he came obviously from, he and several others left South Africa unhappy with the apartheid situation, and they were really pushing human rights, and they were very good for the helping the disadvantaged and the black population, and they were very effective. So you could see him as a person, as a good model for social justice and human rights, in addition to being brilliant investigator. And he was sort of like bringing in social factors in health. Was, as a matter of fact, in honoring him or memorializing him, when I became editor-in-chief of Epidemiologic Reviews, I did that in 2002. My first issue was on social epidemiology. I thought I'd go back to my roots and do that issue in social epidemiology. But he was sort of very inspiring person, very helpful. He also interested in personal vignettes, because when I got married, John Castle and his wife, Margaret Castle, which was a wonderful woman, they gave me the reception after
nice.
my wedding at the church.
How nice!
Because the parents of my former wife were way out in Sampson County and live on a farm and all that. And here is the university community, and he did give me they sponsored the reception.
How nice.
Yeah, is that wonderful? They sort of adopted me in a way all along. And I remember when I wanted, where do you go on a honeymoon? So they told me about the cabin they used in the mountains for their summer vacations. And I called and got the cabin for a couple of weeks. So he was very helpful professionally and personally.
That's so sweet.
So what's nice about John Castle, unlike people busy today, I would go and see him and like talk. And I was a student there. Would talk like that. And when I came as a faculty member, he relied on me quite a bit initially on helping with the various things in the department. And I did my policy course. But then he kind of relied on me a little bit to do some administration. And I sort of tried, not I wanted to, but I thought I wanted to be helpful. So I was, anytime there's an administrative issue in the department, I would jump in and help.
So, still in the early 60s, when did Evans County studies start? That was through the 60s, wasn't it?
Yes, it's either late 50s, early 60s.
So that was there when you came down, it had already been in place when you arrived as a student, or when you
It
transferred
was just
to epidemiology?
Started in a way when I came down, because I did my dissertation in Evans County.
Mm-hmm.
With Curtis Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
He invited me and had a house for the summer, and I interviewed people for my research. I'm interested in funny stories because I administered the MMPI, which has very questions about if you were to do this, would you do that? And if you were let into a movie without paying, would you do it? So a question like that, and I was interviewing farmers in essence in the shade of a tree under and then I had a medical student as my assistant to help me with the interviews. So I was going around talking with people and writing them down. And my assistant said, "You know what people are saying about you?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Is he from New York?" That's because he says, "Why?" He said, "He's so smart." So it was kind of an interesting way of. But I was really, in many ways, like somebody, and not quite fit the rule of Evans County, and.
Background was quite different.
They were very kind and interested in answering questions and interested that somebody's interested in their health. Mm-hmm. But Curtis Haynes was obviously the prime mover of this study, and when he introduced me to his patients in his community, they were very responsive because they know that if he's good, I must be good too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was part of Evans County, and I did my piece in there. But Evans County was one of really the early community studies that John Castle and Al Thoreau nurtured.
Mm-hmm. And were there other major studies or
at
studies
the time?
Yeah, in the 60s that you remember that you think? I guess one of the things Andy wanted to know about was contributions the department made throughout its lifetime. And
we came when the other study, which came in early 70s, in Evans County, you're just talking about, but the other one is that county that I did with Sherman James.
Oh, you mean Edgecombe County?
Edgecombe County.
But that was much later, though. That was
actually early 70s.
Early 70s?
Maybe mid 70s.
Because Sherman.
Well, Edgecombe County was kind of another big community study. There were lots of studies like in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, on blood pressure studies. comparing the various ethnic groups, and that was, Al-Tarur was involved in that as well.
And there was Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
Were you involved in that one
Barbara
too?
Holka was, this is healthcare, more of primary healthcare type of thing.
But in the 60s, it was largely the Evans County study. It was like the laboratory for the department.
Yeah, I think that's what was sort of the biggest study of that. We did some smaller studies, but nothing really as significant as Evans County, and then later on Edgecombe County was kind of community-based study. The department, of course, participated in a lot of ongoing trials, like the ERIC and all that stuff that you know, what was Gerardo Ice.
Of course, that's all
Later.
And Ed Wagner, when did you recruit Ed Wagner?
Yeah, Ed Wagner, we came together from Buffalo.
In 71?
Yeah, in 71.
Oh.
I came as on the faculty, and he came as a student to get a master's degree in epidemiology. And then he stayed on, and he had a joint appointment with epidemiology and medicine.
In medicine,
So, and in essence, I was in essence his boss in epidemiology, and Bob Ney was his boss in medicine. And I tried to talk to Bob Ney that in order for a faculty member to excel and contribute, cannot be judged as a clinician in medicine and an epidemiologist in epidemiology. These are not two people. It's one person. That we must, whatever Ed Wagner does, should be good for epidemiology and medicine. That's how we can promote the joint relationship. Because I remember Bob Ney saying, I don't see Ed Wagner very much in the clinics or doing hospital studies. Like he was working in Edgecombe County with us.
Yeah.
We try to make sure that people in medicine understand that when you have a joint appointment, you treat the person not two, as one. And we succeeded in doing that.
So you knew him in Buffalo?
Yes.
What was he doing there?
He was resident in Buffalo. He was just finishing his medical training, and we knew him because we did some work with the health department, and he was interested in that, and he wanted to do an MPH, and he was talking to me about where would he go, Hopkins, Harvard, Carolina, and when he realized I'm coming to Carolina, and I told him how good Carolina is, he decided to come along and get his
Were you his advisor for his MPH?
I don't think so, no. I was really more of a colleague, although I wasn't the faculty, I was a student, and we worked together in Edgecombe County. He was really a very important person in Edgecombe County study because we were working on medical issues, and he brought in some of the questions about hypertension, heart disease, not just the analysis of data. He brought in some substantive issues that we can discuss.
So, let me just make sure I don't miss anything that I wanted to be sure to cover. So, you were on the faculty in 71 to 76 when John Castle passed away.
Right.
And so then you became acting chair, and then you became chair.
Yes.
Barbara Hulka arrived before you became chair, I think.
Yes.
Carl Schei also.
Yeah. No, I recruited Carl.
Well, you recruited that. So I was wondering, when did you start hiring our faculty?
Well, in 76, when I became
and
chair.
I don't remember who came after that.
But even in the couple of years before, when John was kind of on and off, he sort of relied upon me to kind of do some work. That's how they asked me to be acting.
So were you involved in recruitment of Sherman James?
Yes.
Because he came in 76, I think.
I was, he was recruited by John Castle. I was involved in the recruitment process and encouraged Castle and others and Chairman James to join. So.
And Carl Schei, you assisted?
Carl Schei used to be with the EPA, and when did Carl Schei come? I don't remember. But I was really, whether he came while Castle was still chair or not, I was involved in bringing Carl Schei to the department.
It reminds me, I have to thank you for commissioning that 50-year history of the school.
Oh, it wasn't wonderful.
I have been relying on that so much.
Yeah, it's very, very nice.
Of course,
glad we did it, yeah. I understand now it's online.
It is online.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So, what were your thoughts when you became chair? I mean, of course, everybody was mourning John Castle's passing, and you had administrative experience and you've been working in the department. Were you excited about becoming chair?
It was pretty difficult because it wasn't, I didn't come to recruited to be chair. And I really wanted to do health service research, professor, and contribute in a scientific way rather than administrative way. Unhappily, he got sick, and therefore they wanted somebody to do that, and I happened to have, they saw an experience and all that. So I did it. It was very hard to be chair when John Castle, who was inspiring, articulate, charismatic figure, sick. People were sympathetic toward him, and here I am, just was a student a few years ago, and he became the chair. So I was very careful to negotiate the sensitivity of the faculty for losing a very important figure and make the transition to that somebody else will lead the department. And because he was loved, he would come to faculty meetings and I would be chairing them. And that was quite tricky. How do you run the faculty when the former highly respected chair sitting right there? And what happened when he recommends something that at variance what I think we should be doing? What do you tell him to do that? And because he was very bright, he has ideas, and because he was being sick and taking radiation, and so he was not really very well. So people even more sympathetic to him, and I was too. So it was for a year or two. It was required a lot of skill.
So you were acting chair.
Yeah, I was acting chair and then chair.
But I didn't realize he was. I thought that you became acting chair when he passed away, but you were acting chair while he was still alive.
Oh yes, I think so.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, that must have been pretty.
Because his last year or two he decided to step down.
I see.
So that's when So I was acting chair and then became chair while he was still alive.
I didn't realize that. Well, yes, that must have been.
He was. It was. Looking back, I'm glad it went well. But I thought my job at the time, I saw it that I'm sort of the transition. Like, how would you nicely carry the faculty and students from admiring somebody to be ready for somebody else to lead them, and the sorrow of losing somebody so good. So I thought that my contribution is to keep the department moving and keep it intact and looking forward, given the situation that was. And the reason ordinarily I would not even be acting. I would say no, I don't want to. But I felt, that given the situation and given that I was seeing that I could help, how could I say no? It would be very would not be a very nice thing to do. So, and that's how I got dragged into the administration part of it.
Well, I've always been impressed at your people skills, actually.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
I watched you as chair,
yeah.
And I would see how, I remember how you charmed one of the staff she was upset about something, and whatever, you just, oh, you're so good to see you, smiling at her, and she walked away, you know.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah. I think it's, you know, perhaps it's my nature is to be calm, you know, not to get too excited, which in some cases may not be very good. One time I guess with the department, I got very angry about something. And somebody said, you know, I'm so glad to see you get angry, so people realize that you do get angry. You're not always calm like that. But I believe that, you know, that you can deal with pressing issues better if you're calm and if you kind of bring in the various perspectives of the issue, and you make a better decision like that. And you can only do that if people trust that you really mean what you offer them in a way. And I always tell my friends, you know, like, if you are superficial in your way of dealing with people, like smiling when you really don't mean it, you might get away with it for a week or two or a month or two, but people will know. You know, if you're really smiling, in order to be appreciated, it has to be genuine. And I always felt that I'm going to express my genuine feelings rather than to pretend otherwise. And maybe that's why people could see that, and then this is what you see, what you get.
Well, but you also have a sensitivity to people's feelings and how things will lead them to feel, and what you can say or do that leads them to feel better.
It's probably a reflection of maybe being selfish about me, because I wanted people to treat me in a way that they make me feel good, and I don't want people to treat me in a way so I can feel maybe stupid or inferior. I want them to treat me nicely, so I feel that, you know, maybe just in a reflex way that maybe I should treat people the way like I would like to be treated.
So they say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Perhaps.
And usually people think of that as a moral imperative, but you think of it as a strategy.
That's true. It's a strategy that's an impressive need for it.
So, by the way, do you want to break or anything? We keep going for another half hour, I think it is, or 40 minutes. Great. So, any issues stand in your mind? I mean, anything come to mind in terms of the issues you dealt with as chair? I mean, you mentioned the one with the transition to becoming chair with John Castle's illness, but after that, did the department face?
After that, my philosophy in many ways in administration leadership positions, whether the chair or dean, is to, because you have the authority to recruit people. So I felt it's not that, I'm not going to be judged by how many papers I publish as a chair, or how many grants I bring as a chair. I said, how about if you bring good faculty and good students, and just stay out of their way. Let them write the grants, let them publish the work. And as a dean, I thought that if I bring good chairs, which I change all of them, entire new set of chairs, and let them do good things. So that's one of the things in terms of what did you really do in terms of issues. My big issue is to bring good, high quality faculty and make sure that they have space and money, and let them move forward. Don't breathe over their back. You know? So that's why recruited people, and you came, and several others, and the students.
You can't get them all right.
Make sure that the students' quality, we admit good students, have good teaching programs, and cultivate the faculty to be able to get grants, but not make it like in some schools, you know, like you have to raise the entire salary from grants. We were lucky at Carolina at the time, it may be the same now, that say 50%.
It's gone up from that now, actually.
It's different.
Well, yeah, the expectations have gone up.
We used to say, well, if on average, if you raise 50% of your money, salary, whatever, from grants, but on the average, like one year you may do 75, 1 year 25, 50-50, we make sure that the other 50 come from state funds.
When you hired me, you told me 25%.
Yes.
Those are the good old days.
That's right. You begin sort of go on with that. But that's one of the things I chaired the transition, and then having really spent time in recruiting faculty and making sure that we have a good admission committee to get good students will be something not to just do on the side. It's really a primary objective. And I always felt that it's always nice to surround yourself with people who are better than you are, smarter than you are, not to be threatened by them. I didn't want people around me to be inferior and I am the one who is superior. I wanted the other way around, because if they succeed, I succeed. That's the way I felt all along. That if you have faculty member who become fantastic, you know, I become fantastic. I don't have to become fantastic myself. And that's one of the things I really operated with in terms of principles as chair and as well as dean.
So I think that's a terrific example of broader awareness. You probably may or may not remember that my first day in the department, when it was the orientation, and you were having the department there, you were leading it, and I was a student, and you asked people to introduce themselves and say something about themselves, and I was sitting right in the front row, and you invited me to go first, and I said, hi, I'm Vic Schoenbach, and I'm from Carborough, and I've just come back, I'm in psychosocial epidemiology, and I've just come back from Avoriaz, France, where I completed the TM teacher training course. And I could see this discomfort across your face. And then we went on, and luckily the other people were more normal. But one of the things that TM does is it broadens awareness.
Yes.
And you have this broad awareness, not from TM, but just naturally. The example that I've come to use is when you're driving down the road, do you want the driver in the car next to you to be angry and frustrated and unsatisfied, or would you rather that he is satisfied, comfortable, relaxed, and everything like that? And that's the answer. And you've just said it now, even in another context.
Yes. And it's the kind of the people who say the glass half full or half empty. You know, it's look at all the half full is a much better concept to work with. I always felt that that if I have people that work with me are good, smart, and give me good advice, and they do good things, and they get credit for it. That's one of the things that a lot of people would, you know, yeah, you are my faculty, but whatever you do, I'm going to be on TV talking about it. I want you to be on TV talking about it. And I felt that right now, actually, I do a lot of advising of students and younger faculty. And I love it because, you know, when they come and say, you know, you remember you helped me do this, wonderful. I don't have to publish a paper on that. You have a person who do that. And I think that's, I always feel that if you are in a leadership position, you don't do the stuff that a faculty member does, publish and write papers and do science. You may do some of that, but you're supposed to let others do that. Your job is to make others write grants, be a good teacher, and travel. I remember that when somebody would call a well-known person to be on a big committee say, oh no, I'm too busy, I cannot do it. When somebody called me to be in a big committee, busy or not, I recommend a faculty member to serve on it. And I have plenty of opportunity to serve. I don't have to have it all.
Mm-hmm.
Divide it up
Mm-hmm.
with other faculty. Because I know some colleagues, they want to be the one who is on this commission and that commission. And I'm very happy to commend a younger faculty member to do the thing that somebody else asked me to do, because I feel that I'm privileged to be asked. And I'm privileged when I recommend somebody, they might listen to me. So I use it to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. So then you became dean.
Yes.
In it was 1982, I think.
Yes.
And I remember we went to going to the gym with you, and you were talking about it.
Sure.
And you weren't interested at first, and then after a while, I said, "Well, you seem to be interested now." And he said, "When you start thinking about it."
Yeah, that's what happened. I guess it's maybe interesting to say that when I was not interested in it, I really wasn't interested in it. It's a great job, but I wanted to. I felt when I got into the chairmanship position and I started getting close to the faculty and students, it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And as a chair, you really have much more authority than a dean does in many ways. However, when they say, okay, why don't you throw your hat in? You don't have to decide now. You might decide when they might not offer to you. But to be honest, when you throw your name in, your ego gets into it as well. You know, you cannot say, well, don't select me. When I say, okay, I'll be considered, I didn't want to be turned down. I want to turn them down. I didn't want them to turn me down. So you get into it, and then when they offer you the position, then you, in many ways, you're ready for it. I didn't take it reluctantly. When they offered, and I said, yeah, sure.
So, what was that like? That must have been. I mean, I remember seeing you having lunch with Cecil Sheps, actually. I think quite frequently.
He was a good mentor to help with the. It was initially it was sort of an interesting position, and you need to learn to look at the total picture. You know, like I used to think of, as an epidemiology chair, think of the epidemiology faculty and the epidemiology students and the epidemiology studies. And I was sort of good at that because that's what I was trained to do. But then now you have to think of, how about environmental things? How about water? How about maternal child health? What about health behavior? What about nutrition? So I need to look at not epidemiology anymore, I need to look at the totality of public health. And I need to make sure that I'm sensitive to the needs of the various faculty in the various areas, even if I don't really understand it as well as I do epidemiology. So that was a training period to begin to, in essence, to be dean of everyone, not just, because you are tempted to be, I'm dean, but I'm going to, I know epidemiology. I decided, it's nothing revolutionary, but that's what a dean should be, you know, to be dean with understanding of all the various departments. And as I said, and as you kindly mentioned in your letter to Helen Hershey, I really sat with the people in the dean's office and the chairs of the departments and some faculty and said, getting the building by Gavin Greenberg is #1 priority. It's now or never. As you know, Bernie Greenberg spent a lot of time for it, and he was very disappointed that it didn't come through. And if we just sat waiting for them to vote, it would not have happened.
Right.
It would be gone away.
Right.
And I said, it's now or never. And I really, the first couple of years, this was something on my mind at all times. And as I said, it's not to go around and tell the legislators and the board of governors and trustees and all that, that we are good, give us the money. We want to tell them, to show them things that say, oh yeah, they are good. So all the faculty, like Harvey Jeffries and Al Turow at work, and Gerardo Heiss, and Earl Siegel in maternal child health, anybody that's doing some studies that indicate that, gee, we really care about health, we care about North Carolina. So we found out the faculty giving presentations and talking and in essence showing them that we really do good things, so it must be good. And I went to talk to anybody who would listen to me, especially the legislators. We would visit almost everyone, you know, not necessarily all of them, but the key ones. Make sure that they either come to visit here or I go to their place, talk about the school. And Bill Friday, of course, was very, very supportive. And without him, it could not have happened. You know, he was being the president of the university. But we tried to do our part to do that. And I was so happy that we got the funds for it. The first thing I did when I got the funds, when I got the phone call that the legislature voted for it, I called Bernie Greenberg. He was sick then. You know, he's been sick with cancer. I said, Bernie, we got the money for the building you wanted to come. And he said, thank you very much for telling me. I'm so happy for the school and you and all that. And then we went on with the building. And as a matter of fact, Vic, after we got the building, was not quite what we wanted. It's less than what we wanted. And then we sat at the